How's it going, everyone? My name is Donovan and this is How to Happy. In this video I'm going to be doing a book review of the book Tools of Titans by Tim Ferris. So this book is best for those who don't mind going through a much longer read and who don't mind a book that's a little bit loosely organized, but who do want to learn little snippets of information from a lot of different current great leaders, activists, and other types of people. The difficulty to digest of this book is really low. It's mainly based on Tim Ferriss's podcast, so a lot of the text is very conversational. It should be super easy to digest. There's a couple references that you might not get that are only covered briefly. However, there's usually resources to be pushed out to so that you can learn more, or they give you just enough information so that you can start researching it if it's something you're interested in learning. Tools of Titans is essentially a tidied up, condensed version of Tim Ferriss's podcast. And he's interviewed a lot of really great people who are really just crushing it in general currently. The book's loosely organized in terms of 3 sections: healthy, wealthy, and wise. However, there's a lot of stuff in all the sections that kind of overlap, and more so than anything, it's just a series of really highlights from all of these different podcasts from people who are very well established and successful in their fields. One thing that's really nice about Tools of Titans is it's super easy to just sit down and flip through, right? There's tons of sections, so each little section is an interview, and then within that there's subsections by question and answer style. So it's really, really easy. You could potentially sit down and read through it one end to the other, but you don't necessarily have to. You could just periodically look through and find a person or topic that seems appealing to you and read more about it. In fact, you may actually get more out of this book from periodically looking at it, because just by sheer volume of interviews and information, there's no way that every interview and every piece of information is going to be able to resonate with you. So you might actually get more out of it taking it piece by piece and seeing, what kind of things fit, what don't, revisiting it from time to time to get through the entire thing. One aspect that I really appreciate about Tools of Titans is there is a serious effort to put in very actionable exercises. And these exercises range in, as small as a few minutes up to, weeks or months. So it's really nice to have these actionable tools, which is the same thing that I try to focus on here, is things that you can actually do to start making an impact. There are tons and tons of these exercises sprinkled throughout the book, and it makes it really nice as a resource because you can try all these different things out, see what works best for you, keep what does, and get rid of what doesn't. Overall, I think Tools of Titans is a really engaging and useful book. It just has so many varied opinions and, like I was saying, so many different tools that you can try that there's no way that if you go through the book reading these different interviews sections that you're not going to come away with at least a few things that you can use to be more productive or happier. Moving on to the other consideration section. If for whatever reason you don't want to listen to Tim Ferriss's podcast, this book is a really great way to get a lot of that same content without having to listen. I personally haven't listened to much of his podcast just because it's so long form, but this book will give you a lot of the highlights. Now, obviously, you're also going to miss a lot of the context for some of these points, but you're going to get a lot of different interviews basically from really highly successful people. One other consideration is that this book is, like I said, loosely organized, and there's just a lot of different people talking about a lot of different topics. So as you go through it, just keep in mind that you don't necessarily have to block these interviews into the section that they're written in, right? Just because something is said in health doesn't necessarily mean that it's only a health aspect, right? A lot of the information from these people can be used in a multitude of different arenas. So as you go through it, just expect to go person by person more so than by section, although the people do roughly fit into these sections pretty well. Let's move on to the applicable content section. Number 1. Much of this book is talking about tools and trying to implement them to see how they work for you. What new tool or idea will you try to implement this week? 2. A huge theme in this book is picking the brains of other successful people to implement their patterns and ideas. Pick someone you admire and ask them a few questions about their routines and habits. That's all I've got for this video. As always, if you have any questions, comments, topics you want me to cover, throw them down in the box below and I will get to them as soon as I can, and I will see you next time. You can check out more content at howtohappy.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you can stay up to date on the videos. We've also got a Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook that you can check out. Reflect, take action, and enjoy life. See you next time.